Have you ever listened to this guy, Dr. Steven Greer? I I used to listen to I listened to even the conspiracies, and especially if they sounded like they were believable. A lot of the ones I've listened to, I just can't believe. But this guy is very believable, but you tend to not want to believe him because he's he sounds a lot of the stuff sounds like conspiracy. So you take it all with a grain of salt. But I always kind of give him credit for being a believable guy and uh, never really, never really come out and said, no, this guy's just a hack. I can't say that about Steven Greer. I can't say that about him because he just comes off as an honest person. But just if you listen to him, it is really hard to believe some of the things that he said. And I'm going to play a little bit of this here. And when I listen to it, it doesn't sound believable to me. But at this point, after listening to David Grusch, Grusch, and some of these other whistleblowers, and now this thing is getting real serious um, about a lot of the things that he's been coming out with about the saying that we have down alien spacecraft. He doesn't call them spacecraft, just something that's not of this that we could create, and also biological entities that were not human inside of them. And I'm really now with all these hearings and everything, I'm pretty much convinced that Roswell was a down saucer. And I've always listened to both sides. I always tried to keep an open mind about this stuff. But have you been listening to the hearings on these? I think it's News Nation that's been covering them, and that's been getting very little coverage from all the other news agencies, which is really suspicious. And why wouldn't you cover the biggest story ever from not just the 21st century, but the 20th century? There's basically been like a news block. And when you listen to these guys and how they've been intimidated and threatened and the kind of things that they're saying is going on, um, and probably payoffs. I mean, you talk about multi-billion-dollar industry that is not um, accountable to anybody. These black budgets putting this money in, and according to him, reverse engineering um, alien spacecraft, and not only us but other countries. Well, you wonder how come we haven't used them against each other, or the first one to develop an actual flying saucer hasn't already attacked, um, like Russia hasn't already attacked us, or why we haven't already used them to attack them. Well, it's because our government is not in control of this technology, and apparently none of the governments are. But Stephen Greer explains why, and now I have to start really taking people like Stephen Greer seriously. And when you look at somebody like David Grusch, and the stuff that he's come out with, what he knows is just a fraction of what Stephen Greer knows. And so you're not going to really get the full truth out of these hearings because none of these guys have the full story. But this guy seems to have. He's been doing this for a long time and talking to a lot of people, a lot of whistleblowers. And he is saying a whole lot more and been saying it. And the reason you got to kind of start listening to some of these people now, and maybe some of these really strange, unbelievable stories, is because it's pretty much been stated now that they've been keeping secrets. You're not going to get the full story, obviously, from these people. And the reasons are very obvious. And I want you to listen to what he said, which makes sense.
You mentioned earlier, and it's the first time in our conversation. Uh, I believe it was Russia or Germany. Um, but typically, whenever I hear about downed spacecrafts, mysteriously, it always happens in the U.S.
Oh no, it's happened all over the world.
Not sightings. I'm talking about downed.
I am too.
So you're saying outside of the U.S.?
Oh, multiple. Yeah.
Really?
Yep. South Africa,
Okay.
Africa, Russia, Germany.
Okay. So do they have the same technologies that we have?
Well, this gets complicated.
Okay.
The organization we're talking about is transnational. It's not only U.S., meaning that it has corollaries and components in every country, and it moves with alacrity, freedom across all political boundaries. So when I was up at a skiff a couple years ago with some guys, intel guys, intelligence guys, and I said, "You see that map of the world behind you, right up there on both conference table? Take all the lines between all the countries, erase them, because the organization who is running this operation is transnational, not international. Big difference. International is like U.S. to Canada, da da da. This is transcends those boundaries. So you have to understand the architecture, the structure of this organization, which I understand very, very well. And so, for example, we have operations in Mexico, out at Fort Huachuca, which was Army Intelligence Headquarters out in the desert of Arizona. There's a DUM, a deep underground military base storage area there. Has a man on my team who was there in the 70s. There were 9 extraterrestrial vehicles that were stored there, and dead extraterrestrial bodies that had been dissected, autopsied, whatever. Many of those had been pulled out of Latin America or Mexico and brought back and were moved across borders. So I think we're trained to think in our high school civics lesson about geopolitics and political and boundaries. You got to erase that when you're dealing with this particular these operations, and that's another big problem for the United States government. As I've warned them, you're going to have to take a global approach to this eventually. First, you need to get your head around what's going on in CONUS, continental United States, and our security. But ultimately, you're going to have to consider the rest of the world. Because these operations, as I mentioned, the CIA document talked about going across the border into Brazil and Argentina, conducting abductions on innocent civilians for their psychological warfare value. So these operations are not restricted to the United States, nor have the downing and retrieval of these objects been restricted to the United States. So that's another whole layer of discussion. Sorry to make this so complex, but it is complex. It's just
no, it's extremely complex.
Extraordinarily.
And it really
shootings and stabbings were easier, my friend. Give me a good old fashioned.
So everything that these whistleblowers, David Grusch, has told us, we've already known because people like Greer and other ufologists have been telling us the exact same thing for many years. So they know way more than this guy here and these other whistleblowers. And these people are like saying what they've seen or what they've heard or what they found out from other people. and he was an investigator and talking to a lot of people that want to come forward, but they're afraid of, harassment or losing their jobs. Well, no wonder, because this organization is worldwide in every country, and they're in the shadows. It's not just a shadow government in the United States; it's a shadow government of the world. And even Putin doesn't have access to this stuff. Otherwise, he would use it. You think if Putin had access to that, the war in Ukraine wouldn't have been over in like 5 minutes. So what he said was, to me, makes absolute sense, because otherwise they would have used this technology a long time ago. So I'll start listening to people like David Greer, and start taking him a little more serious, because some of the things that he said is never going to come out in public. You're going to have to get it from people like him. They've been telling this stuff for years and years and years, and it's just now, um, being investigated by Congress. So I tried to be objective up till this point, but I realized I'm not going to wait around for these investigations to come out with the whole truth. They're always going to like say certain things like we don't know what they are. We really don't know what they're there, but we don't know what they are. And that's just a bull-faced lie, because they do know. They do know what they are. And you're only going to find out the truth from people like this guy right here. So don't wait around anymore. You know, uh, it's good now that we have something to look at and say, okay, I know where I'm going to put my money now. I know where I'm going to lay my money now. I know who I'm going to put my bets on now. And you're only going to get half truth from the mainstream media, and you have to go deep looking at guys like this here to get the whole truth. So that's why I take this guy at face value now. I don't doubt anything he says, no matter how crazy it sounds. And it's a lot more crazy than what you're going to find out even from watching these congressional hearings. But I would suggest watch them and then open your mind up to even greater possibilities, or more possibilities. And a lot of them are pretty dark, but most of the darkness comes from what we as humans are doing with this stuff, not what the visitors, the extraterrestrials, are doing. And at this point, you don't know when things are happening, whether it's them or us. So you're never going to know completely what's going on. And that's just it. And we have to accept that. So this is Zombie Ed coming at you with another bizarre story. Now, put your input in. Let me know what you think is going on.